Hey there. Welcome back to another Bernie Miklasz show here on YouTube. Thank you very much for your support. Our channel is growing, closing in on 6,000 subscribers, which is really good for the relatively short time that we've been doing this. So thank you as always. Thank you very much. Tip of the cap. Thanks for all your comments. Hit the like button, get the word out. Help me out here. Speaking of the cap, I thought it was appropriate to wear this one today. Of course, that's Bob Gibson. This is the signature line. There's a collection. I have a Satchel Paige hat. The signature line. You have the player's number. There's an autograph replica on the back. So I decided, well, I got to wear Bob Gibson today because I woke up kind of lethargic. I don't know why. Who knows? I'm old. Anyway, I woke up kind of lethargic, and the usual cup of coffee or two didn't really kick in for some reason. I'm like, well, I need Gibby to fire me up. So here we go. See that psychological boost by having the Bob Gibson cap on today. What I wanted to talk to you about today is to start to look ahead to the Cardinals offseason and some of the decisions they are facing. And, there's a lot of speculation, of course, that they're going to lower payroll by offloading some salaries. And what I've decided to do, instead of like cramming everything into one video that would last like 3 days, be like a 20-hour video or something. I'm being facetious, but then again, these videos have been running kind of long. I need to maybe edit myself a little better by doing shorter ones. But anyway, I thought the best thing to do with these is take it on a case-by-case basis, just one at a time. And then we can expand more on the particular idea of, should you trade this guy? What's the market like? What does history tell us? Things like that. So today we're going to start off what I think is the most obvious trade candidate that they have, which is their closer, Ryan Helsley. So if the Cardinals are not, they are not in a mood to add to payroll, or not, they're not of the mind to add to payroll, if they don't think that, honestly, no matter what spin they put on it, but if deep down, honestly, they know their aim in 2025 isn't to contend and do everything you can to contend. If the goal is to make some smart decisions that will set you up for the future and help get you through this soft rebuild time, then you have to trade Helsley. I don't think that. I'm sure there'll be some pushback to that opinion, but I really think this is the most obvious way to go, because first of all, there's a lot of reasons, but number one, let's just talk about his value, and let's just talk about the fact that he has a full year left before he can become a free agent. He's also going into his final year of arbitration. And if the Cardinals are, again, if this is about keeping costs down, well, that final arbitration year is going to jack up his salary pretty well. I don't really care about that much, but I'm just saying that's worth mentioning if I'm going to go into this stuff. So by trading Helsley, you could get, I think, good value for him. I don't know that you would ever get better value for him. And if they play, pardon the pun, if they play their cards right, they would get a very nice return. Now, the problem here, of course, is that John Mozeliak's going to be making the trade. And his trade record, when it comes to trading commodities for prospects or players that are really close to being in the major leagues, it just isn't that good. I keep talking about this one, but in 2023, we'll mention it again. I mean, the Kansas City Royals flipped Aroldis Chapman, a closer they didn't need because they were on the way to losing 106 games. And they got Cole Reagans for him, who's their number one starter, basically. He was in the Texas system. He wasn't like as acclaimed as I would have imagined, but he was considered a good get for the Royals. And since they got him, he's been really good. So that's for a rental reliever. That's for a rental, because Chapman helped them win the World Series, and that's all they needed from him. But that was it. He was there for 2 months plus the playoffs. And they got basically a number one, number two starter for him. Cole Reagans is good. So you contrast that to the Cardinals, and they've had a lot of pieces to sell off in the summer 2023, which they did. And they made a trade with Texas where they sent Jordan Montgomery, and also the reliever Chris Stratton. And listen, they got Thomas Saggese in the trade. He might turn out to be a decent player for them. I like him. They also got the guy they really wanted was Takao Roby, a right-handed pitcher that's got real upside, but he can't stay healthy. He was hurt again this year. I don't know when he's going to get on a major league mound. I don't know how long he'll stay there before injuries take him down again. It's a shame because he does have talent. So my point is, with all of these things we're going to be talking about in the coming days, Cardinals trade possibilities, it sort of circles back to same old thing. Do we trust John Mozeliak to actually get the maximum value in a trade return for a true value piece in Ryan Helsley? There's a lot of contenders out there are going to be looking and say, man, we don't have that hammer at the end of our bullpen. The Baltimore Orioles, for example, that's one example, but there's other ones too. So I don't want to go into all that and sit here and like catalog teams because a lot can change over the next couple months. But Helsley's value should be really, really good. I mean, let's start with this. He had a great year. I mean, he led the major leagues in saves with 49. He also had 7 wins, and a few of those were because they brought him into a tie game, extra inning situation, and he was able to, close it out and get the W. So 49. So the Cardinals won 83 games. He saved 49 of them, and he won 7. So he had a direct hand in 59. I'm just laughing at this. He had a direct hand in 56 of their 83 wins. That's pretty good, but it's more than that. And I'll just rattle these off as quickly as I can. Among major league relievers who had enough qualifying innings, he was 16th in ERA. He was 3rd in wins above replacement. He was 4th in win probability added. He had 36 shutdown relief appearances. That ranks 10th. He only had 4 meltdowns. That ratio is excellent. This is a Fangraph stat. 36 shutdowns, only 4 meltdowns. The shutdowns were the 10th most in the majors. The meltdowns were the 7th lowest in the majors. That's a good ratio. That's a great ratio. If you look at his strikeout rate, 29.7%, that ranked 30th, which is not, when you look at it, is not like, wow, but it's solid enough because I think Helsley wisely traded some strikeouts to have better control and used his slider a lot more, which became his strikeout pitch. And then the fastball was a little wild, didn't get as many strikeouts, but the slider is, I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but the slider was just incredible for him in 2024. But listen, if you're at a 30% strikeout rate, that's still really, really good. And he did cut down on his walks again this year. If you look at the hard hit rate against him, it's fine. It's good. There's nothing unusual about it. Actually, the barrel rate against him was really low, which is good. He also, there's a stat here, and Ryan Helsley got a lot of swings and misses. I mean, a lot of swings and misses. And he also got a lot of called strikes. Now, when you combine the two, I mean, this guy's a strike thrower. He pounds the strike zone, and because of the slider, he gets hitters thinking one way, and then, that slider will catch a corner. I mean, he had great control with it. And so there were only 5 relievers in Major League Baseball this year that had a higher combination of called strikes and swinging strikes. His percentage was 33.6%. That's a lot. So it's 6th in the major league, 6th best in the major leagues. And of course, we mentioned he led the league led the majors in saves. The slider is just became a phenomenal pitch for him. And by the way, Dusty Blake was the one who said, listen, this is a really excellent pitch for you. You don't throw it enough. So we're going to recommend you throw it more. And he did. They also changed the shape of it a little bit. So let me just run down how great this slider is. And you say, well, do you really need to go through all that? Yeah, I do. Because we're talking about what his trade value would be and why some teams would be enamored of him and would be really, really excited to try to get him, especially if you're going to have a competition among teams to get what could be the best closer on the market, on the trade market, and you get a full season of him. He's not a rental. And if you're a real wealthy club, you could always make the chance to take the chance of re-signing him on your own, but you get a full year. So if you think you can win it all in 2025, a full year of Ryan Helsley makes a lot of sense if you're going to take that kind of gamble, or if you're going to give up something more than just a nominal package, a really good package of talent. But anyway, the slider, he threw it at average 89 miles an hour, which is 10 miles an hour less than his fastball. So that's why that messed up hitters. It comes out of his hand, looks like he's throwing heat, and all of a sudden it's 10 miles an hour slower than what you're expecting. And plus it had great movement. He had a whiff swing rate, which is a fancy way of saying swing and a miss, 51% on that pitch. Phenomenal. He had a put away rate about 35%. His strikeout rate on that pitch was 44%. He did not give up any home runs, and he gave up only 3 doubles, 3 extra base hits, and a lot of plate appearances that ended with him throwing the slider. His slider value, according to StatCast, was 13th best in the majors. Let me rephrase that. I'm sorry. His run value on the slider was 5th best in the majors. 5th best in the majors. However, the top guys, the top 4 and ahead of him were all starting pitchers. So Ryan Helsley, in terms of the value of the pitch, had the best slider among major league relievers in 2024, and it just proved to be a wicked, wicked pitch. So if you're general manager, president of baseball operation, you're a scout, you're looking at this, and you say, dude throws 100 miles an hour, but he's got this filthy slider that's 10 miles per hour lower, and he just completely messes hitters up with it. If you look at some of the other stuff, and I'll rattle through this quickly. His overall pitching run value was the 8th best in baseball, and that includes starting pitchers. His breaking ball value, the slider, was in the top 2%. The overall pitching value was in the top 8%. That's what I meant to say. His expected ERA was in the top 5%. His fastball velocity, the top 1%. He had a chase rate that was in the top 3% of all major league pitchers. His whiff rate was swing and miss rate was in the top 3 of all major league pitchers, and his strikeout rate was in the top 10% of all major league pitchers. So these are all percentile rankings. You look at the barrel rate against him; he was in the top 3% for not giving up many barrel shots. Hard hit rate was in the top 24%. That's good. On and on and on and on. In fact, his expected ERA would have ranked is in the top 5% overall, but number 1 among relief pitchers. And so I'm giving you some of the saber metrics things because that's what front offices are going to be looking at. The reason I pass them along to you is because that's what front office people from other teams are going to be looking at. They look for the StatCast stuff. It's very, very big to them. It's like it tells you a lot. It goes behind, it goes below, it goes under. You dig deeper than just ERA and strikeout rate. He's got 2 excellent pitches. It's just the slider became the hammer pitch for him in 2024. So the one concern maybe a team would have, and before this past season, Ryan Helsley had an issue with injuries. In 2019, he missed time with a shoulder injury. In 2021, he missed 48 days with an elbow. He was kind of a non-factor in the COVID season because he did get COVID. That's not a baseball injury, but I wanted to mention anyway. And then in 2023, when he was having an excellent season, he got hurt with a forearm strain. He missed 83 days. He missed a lot of time, 2.5 months to be exact. So if you're a front office guy, you might be a little nervous about this, but here's where, and this will make people mad just because all I got to do, all I got to do if I just want to get people mad, all I got to just mention Ali Marmol, just mention him. And it's a big burst of flames. Anyway, But here's one situation where even if you hate Ali Marmol because he's associated with John Mozeliak, here's a situation where you probably can thank him for what he did last season. And you say, what do you mean? What he did in terms of increasing Ryan Helsley's trade value? And he did. Because as I just laid out, Helsley's had a history of injuries. Ali Marmol and Dusty Blake came up with a plan, and they said, we can protect him better if we use him more judiciously because he's not built to go more than one inning. You bring him in and save situations. You save him for the most high leverage situations. You don't ask him to get 5 outs, 6 outs. You just keep him in that lane, the most important lane there is, which is like we need 3 outs to win a ball game, to close it out. And he was arguably the best in the business at that last year, and this past season, and he did not miss any time with injuries. So Marmol's modification and how he used him, and the plan that he and Dusty Blake came up with, got Ryan Helsley through basically the first injury-free season of his major league career. And his availability was fantastic. So my point being, the Cardinals showed anybody who was interested in Ryan Helsley and who may have been worried about the injury factor, they saw how the Cardinals deployed him in 2024, and they saw that it was a really smart plan, and they saw that the plan worked. So a big part of getting Ryan Helsley is taken care of. It's like, well, can we get him through a whole year keeping him healthy? Well, if you're handling him intelligently, the Cardinals in 2024 showed, yes, you absolutely can get him through the season totally healthy. So his trade value, because of that 100% availability, basically in 2024, his trade value went up because of that. The injury factor is still there, but it's much lower now. And I think that was a good development if we're looking at him as a trade piece. So I want to go back to one other thing really quick. Say, well, he's so great there, Bernie. Why would you trade him? And let's recap that, and I'll be quick. Because if you're entering a rebuild, soft rebuild, moderate, something more serious, we don't know yet. We have to see, because we'll find out based on their actions this offseason. It just doesn't make sense. It makes sense to have him with you in 2025 if you're not going to be a contending team. And you're going to be a team muddling around, 75, 78, 80, 81 wins, something like that. What's the point? So you would use him in 2025, kind of in a lost cause season. And also, let's be honest, even though the Cardinals showed you can get him through a season healthy by just using him in a more enlightened way, there's always a chance of a fluke injury. The Cardinals in 2025 could use him the exact same way, which is a really responsible way and a really intelligent way. But you never know when anybody throws 100 miles an hour, man. You never know when the elbow's just going to snap. The ligament's just going to go pop, and that's it. Tommy John surgery. So by keeping Helsley around, even though you have figured out how to minimize his injury risk, there's still a chance. Anybody who throws that hard and works that often, there's always a chance of the elbow blowing out or something like that. And let's just be realistic. Let's be pragmatic. That's a big risk you take by keeping Helsley in effect, which would be a lost cause season. And you could wait if you don't like what you get in terms of offers for him this offseason. You could wait until the trade deadline in 2024 and the way the reliever in 2025, the trade deadline in 2025, the way the reliever market is going, teams will overpay even for a rental reliever. So that is an option. But my point is, if you really think you can get a lot for him, and I know it's John Mozeliak making the trade, I got you. You and I are all good. We both know that that's the thing that makes us go, but if you look at Helsley as an asset that can make you better in the near future with the return you would get, what's the point of exposing him to risk when the old Tommy John surgery is It's always lurking in the background for anybody who throws that hard. That's all I'm trying to say. So now would be the time, because that's the other thing. The Cardinals are not going to re-sign him. Now, if I thought there was a reason that they would re-sign him, there was a reason to believe they would re-sign him, but they're not, because he'll be 31 next season. So the end of this season, then he'll be going into 2026, his age 32 season. And as these guys get older, then you have to assume they're going to be more vulnerable. The Cardinals are not going to plow a lot of money, and I'm not saying this is the right decision. I'm telling you how it is, right? I don't own the team. I don't make these decisions. But there's no way that the Cardinals would reinvest a major contract. Ryan Helsley can, if he's healthy next season, he can enter free agency and make a fortune. And the Cardinals won't be one of those teams offering that fortune. Again, my name ain't DeWitt. I don't make those decisions, but I'm explaining that's how it is, whether we like it or not. So that's even more of a reason to trade him, and the maximum value would be this offseason. But you have a chance to do it at the deadline next season if he's healthy and pitching well. So what do you get for him? And that's the thing I try to do some research on, and I don't want to get bogged down too much here. But I mentioned and again, this was a rental deal. I mentioned the Aroldis Chapman trade from the Royals to the Rangers for Cole Reagans. Excellent trade for Kansas City. I mean, their smart front office signed Chapman with the intention of flipping him at the deadline for something that could help them and help them soon. And that's exactly what happened. So again, yeah, you could wait until the deadline because the team's desperate and all that. It's just a decision the Cardinals are going to have to make, whether they want to take the risk of an injury between the start of next season and then the deadline when you would flip Ryan Helsley. You got to factor that in, and I know I've mentioned it, but I want to keep going back to it because I think it's important. Chapman, and this goes back a ways. Chapman, of course, was traded in 2016 from the Yankees to the Cubs, who were making a run for the World Series, which they got, even though Chapman in the postseason was kind of he had some blowups. But for the Yankees, it worked out fine because the primary piece in that trade was Gleyber Torres, the infielder, and he's still with the Yankees. He's completing his 7th season with the Yankees. He's had 420 home run seasons, couple 25-plus home run seasons. He has been a 441 slugger for the Yankees for 7 seasons. His OPS plus is about 14% above league average the entire time he's there. He's only had 1 season of the 7 where he's been slightly below average offensively. And I ain't saying he's Ozzie Smith. I ain't saying that he's Roberto Alomar, talking about playing shortstop, second base, wherever they put him. But you flip Chapman and you get 7 seasons of Gleyber Torres. Yeah, that's a pretty big win. It's a huge win for Brian Cashman and the Yankees right there. All right, I think one that would be a parallel. The Brewers famously and notoriously traded Josh Hader, their lefty closer, right before the All-Star break or right after the All-Star break in 2022. They traded him to San Diego. And I should have looked that date up, and I apologize. But my point is that it wasn't at the deadline. It was well before the deadline. That's the only point that matters in this reciting of this trade. So Hader was not having a good year that year. Do you remember that? He really wasn't. His ERA was ballooning, and he was getting hit pretty hard. And even after Milwaukee traded him to San Diego, he struggled for the Padres, although was an asset in the postseason when the Padres got to the NLCS and then lost to the Phillies. So what did they get for him? This is a complicated one, but I'm going to simplify it really easy because it wasn't just who they directly got from the Padres for Josh Hader. And by the way, that did wreck up the clubhouse. The Brewers' morale went down the toilet because you're trading our guy. We got a chance to win the division. We got a chance to go into playoffs. As it turned out, the team was so bummed out by this, and it did affect everything. Craig Counsell, the manager, later admitted it. Yeah, it was kind of tough to accept. The Brewers didn't make the playoffs in 2022, so they paid a price that way, right? Not that they'd win anything in the postseason, because they're having a hard time doing that, and that's true again in 2024. They're out already. All right, let's talk about the trade return for Hader, just to refresh our memories, which I did today to refresh my memory. They got a young pitching prospect named Robert Gasser. We saw him this year. He pitched a gem, I believe, against the Cardinals. He's a lefty. He's really, really good. The problem is he blew out his elbow. He's got Tommy John surgery. He's going to miss a good part of next season, if not all of next season. But he's young. He's got a lot of talent, and he's a piece for the future. It's not like you cross him off the list as a bust, because, again, that's the risk of Tommy John surgery possibility, right? You never know with these guys. They got that. I always mispronounce this guy's name. Dinelson Lamet. They designate him for assignment. They had Taylor Rogers, a lefty reliever. He left as a free agent. So the Brewers didn't get all that much in those two guys. But there was an outfielder involved in this trade, and I'm going to mispronounce his name because I am bad at that. Estari Ruiz. And if I said that wrong, laugh at me. That's all right. They traded a young outfield. The Padres traded a young outfield prospect to the Brewers, Ruiz, who was kind of like the star, along with Gasser, was kind of the star of the deal. And what happened is the Brewers, they flipped Ruiz, the outfielder, in the trade that brought them William Contreras. In fact, they made another trade where they flipped someone, and I forget who it was, but they got a good reliever from Oakland. It was a three-way trade. I take that back. Okay, in this three-way trade for this young, really hot prospect Ruiz, this outfield prospect, they got Joe Piamps. They're a pretty good reliever. They got him from Oakland, and they got William Contreras from Atlanta. So the point being, you have to look beyond what they got for him on that trade day for Hader. William Contreras came out of that deal, right? And a good young starting pitcher, Robert Gasser, who's been interrupted with Tommy John stuff, but he's a piece for the future. And you're getting several seasons of William Contreras. You got a real good reliever in that deal, and you get Robert Gasser, who's got maybe a number 2, number 3 starter stuff. I think the Brewers, all in all, except for the damage they caused in 2022 to the team morale, I think the Brewers got a nice return. But I also think you could get more for a Ryan Helsley. I could be wrong about that. Perhaps I am overestimating him. I don't think so. I'm just saying his value's never been higher, because he just had a great season, a career best season, and he also stayed healthy for the first time in his career. Value's never been higher, and he's still 30 years old. Turned 31 next July. Let's talk about some trades just at this past deadline. So we get back to the rentals, although one guy wasn't a rental. The trade that the Miami Marlins made with San Diego, they sent that excellent lefty reliever, Tanner Scott, out there. And this was a rental, because Tanner Scott can become a free agent at the end of the season. San Diego gave up their number 2, their number 4, and their number 5 prospects for a rental. Okay. Which makes you wonder, if you can get that for a rental. The number 2 prospect was a pitcher. The number 4 prospect was a pitcher. The number 5 prospect was a guy who can play infield, outfield. If you can get that bounty for a rental, what might the price be to exchange Ryan Helsley on the open market coming up this winter? Makes you wonder. They also got the Padres. They got Jason Adam in a trade from the Tampa Bay Rays, and they've got 3 prospects from the Padres. Now, the good thing about Adam from the Padres standpoint, he's under club control through 2026. So that gave him a little extra trade value. But One of the guys that they got is a pitching prospect for Adam, a pitching prospect named, they got 3 prospects. One of them is a pitching prospect named Lesko, who was the 15th overall pick in 2022. He's got really great stuff, but kind of theme of the day, had to have Tommy John elbow surgery. Again, you never know when something's going to go pop. That's it. But he still has a bright future. His ERAs in the minors, since he came back, not very good, but his stuff's returning and he's looking nasty based on reports. So Miami did great in trading Tanner Scott, and Tampa Bay did, I think, pretty well in trading Jason Adam. Not that instant gratification type return, but certainly Tanner Scott as a rental, that is a great haul, what the Marlins were able to get for him. Another trade that's a little bit under the radar, Dave Dombrowski, the Phillies, got Carlos Estevez because he wanted a strong guy he could use late innings, 9th inning included, and they gave up 2 prospects. He will be a free agent, Estevez, at the end of this season. But for a rental, they gave up what amounts to their number 7 prospect and number 12 prospect. See, that's the other side of waiting and trading a guy as a rental, right? A guy like Tanner Scott might be the exception where you just get this big bounty of terrific prospects for him. But with Estevez, I don't think the Phillies cared, but they didn't really have to give up much for him. What amounts to, the number they gave the Angels, and I may have screwed that up and I apologize. They gave the Angels to get Carlos Estevez. They gave up in effect their number 7 prospect and their number 12 prospect. So that was the thing. If I screwed that up again, I just corrected it. So those are just a few examples. I think the Brewers' thought process in trading Hader made sense only from a baseball standpoint, not so much as a clubhouse morale standpoint. Like, even if you look at Hader, who moved on from the Padres and he signed a big deal with the Astros, by his standards, he did not have a good year his first year in Houston after signing the big contract, a 3.80 ERA, 12 home runs allowed. So to me, and I want your thoughts on this, to me, it's kind of the proverbial no-brainer in terms of if you are convinced that this is not going to be a year to contend, and you sort of have to take a step back to fix your farm system, your player development system, make sure all your prospects are getting what they need. And by the way, I agree with those of you who say, well, you can do both. You can fund the transformation of the farm system, minor league system, and still add players. Yeah, you can, but I don't think they're going to do it. So once again, yeah, I could sit here and scream and shout, for 2 weeks straight about this, but it's not going to change. They've already made their decision. Not saying the decision right, because yes, they can do both things. Those of you who have said that are 100% right. So that would be another reason for you to be disappointed in ownership management. But as far as, let's not get off track here. If the Cardinals have made the decision that 2025 is kind of a step back year, while they refresh, reset, retool, start to rebuild, whatever. To me, it's mandatory that you trade Ryan Helsley. It makes no sense to keep him, risk an injury, lower his value, because you have a chance to trade him at a time where he's got a year left for a contending team, full season, and you just do it. They're not going to resign him. He could get hurt next season if they keep him. And then what? So anyway, those are my thoughts. I'll be curious to see if you have anything to add to that, or you agree, disagree. That's fine. And also, if you remember some reliever trade of recent vintage that worked out well, that maybe there could be a parallel with the Cardinals. I may have forgotten one. I tried to do some research, but you know how that is. The data bank up here is not always 100%. I miss some stuff every now and then. I get lost in so many numbers. I miss stuff, but I don't think I did this time. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'm going to try to sneak back later with something else, but that's Ryan Helsley. Trade him. That's it. Trade him. Thank you for watching the Bernie Show here on YouTube.